The new year brings new health goals and wealth goals. Protecting your identity is an important step. Your info is in endless places that could expose you to identity theft, leading to lost funds. LifeLock monitors millions of data points per second. If your identity is stolen, our restoration specialists will fix it, guaranteed, or your money back. Resolve to make identity health and wealth part of your New Year's goals with LifeLock. Save up to 40% your first year. Visit lifelock.com/podcast. Terms apply.
Welcome to No Question About That. And before we get going with the show, can you do me a favour? Hit the subscribe button and then drop into Spotify to leave us a comment or Apple Podcasts to leave us a rating and a review. And now on with the show. Welcome to No Question About That. This is the Midweek Pod with me, Ed, and today with Tom. How's it going, Tom?
Yeah, I'm good. I'm still glowing, I think, a little bit from last Saturday. Like, it was just, yeah, it was beautiful. And I feel like that's going to continue for a little bit. I'm not going to lie.
Yeah, it's been a good week. United, brilliant victory against City. Fantastic performance, no notes on the tactical setup. Carrick set them up in hardly any training sessions to roll out a very specific game plan, and it brought a brilliant result. And it's just kind of lifted the whole club, hasn't it? I think we expected Amorim to get fired, and I guess you can get a new manager bounce and all that. We didn't get one from Amorim at all.
I know, yeah.
So maybe it's that, but also, City then Arsenal, I think we expected a couple of defeats and just the downward spiral of the mood being really bad. And it's so weird, the Premier League table this season, where we're like a point off fourth. Are we fourth or fifth? I can't remember now. Like a point off fourth, I think.
I think we're back to fifth after.
We're only 3 points away from Everton in 10th.
Yeah.
So
it is so
tight everything is.
Yeah, it's so strange. Everyone taking points from the other. And I think the only dampener we've had this week is City going to Norway and losing. And it takes a little bit of gloss off the result in some respects, because I'm sure there's going to be loads of people out there going, well, yeah, City lost to Bodo Glimt. But yeah, it would have been nice if they'd have continued. But also, it's just also lovely to see City lose again and kind of lose their heads.
I didn't really feel like that. I was like, and it was great. They lost.
Yeah, exactly. And then you're thinking, there's a small part of me thinking, is second on?
Yeah, it depends on Aston Villa, doesn't it? I think the thing is, the good spin, the positive spin, the bullish case is that although United, the next five, post-Arsenal, 5 or 6 games after that don't look too bad. It just kind of gets more difficult from there, but everyone is dropping points. So,
yeah.
That worst case scenario of we're only 3 from 10th, but that also would mean that a lot of other teams have to win at the same time for that to be true. So I expect everyone, they're hyper competitive, or there's lots of flawed teams. Pick your poison there on which narrative you want, but I expect lots of teams to drop points. And I did a piece for my Substack this week, just trying to work it out. There are 5 difficult games, you'd say. We play Arsenal, we play Liverpool, Chelsea, and we go away to Newcastle and play Villa again. I'd say those are the top ones. And then there's a bunch against sort of middle-ranked teams. And then the interesting stuff we've been struggling to beat teams at home who are crap. Will Carrick be able to come up with a different system? Because the one against City, you can't roll out against 90% of the teams in the league, where they're going to have so much possession, you smash them on the break. So what are we going to do in games that we've been dropping points against, teams we've been dropping points against this season?
And that's it, isn't it? Because when you say we haven't got difficult games, the difficult games that have been for us over the past 12 months under Amorim's reign especially are the games against those teams. Like in the games against the bigger clubs, against the better sides, we've been much better. And we've maybe not won them all, but there's been largely the best performances massively are against Liverpool, the Arsenal away in the Cup. Obviously, we end up beating City in one of the first games at City. It's just those games in against the smaller teams. But I think what we saw from when Amorim played 4 at the back is we can get more players forward into the forward positions. It's obviously quite an easy thing, but like, if you, especially the way that we played against City, and I think we'll play against Arsenal, and therefore also take that into the games against the lesser clubs, is that you can still get your fullbacks bombing on like wing backs, even in a 4 at the back system. You just have to be a little bit careful, obviously, but it means that you've got more players forward, you've got more players who are likely to get in behind. And I think with the very short time that we saw Amorim play 4 at the back, we saw that. We saw the fullbacks getting in behind in the way that they just don't when they were playing as wing backs. And I also think to the team just that we generally have, yes, the team that played against Arsenal, against City, I wouldn't play Dorgu against a team with who are playing in a lower block. But you bring someone like Cunha in who has that ability to open up defenders and open up teams. And you think, I'm getting carried away. I'm not going to lie. I'm getting carried away a little bit by what happened in that first game. But I'm also thinking, if I look at the squad, that played that game, and I look at Mazraoui coming back at right back, who's a massive upgrade on Dalot. And I'm thinking, we've got one of the better teams we've got one of the better squads in the league. I genuinely believe that. I think Mbeumo is one of the best players in the league. I think he's shown that at Brentford last season. I think he's showing that this season at City, at United, obviously. And we see Bruno playing back in that position where he's absolutely best. We see Mainu coming back. Like, Ahmad coming back to play in his proper position. It's all of a sudden, and we got Šeško potentially just coming off the bench, or he was finding a little bit of form. You're thinking, hold on, this is what Amorim has really done. It's completely like, obviously it's been spoken about a fair bit, but he completely dropped the expectations to so low to believe and make us think that this team and this squad just isn't anywhere near good enough. And yeah, there are definitely holes and there are problems in the team, and I'd love to see our midfield get an upgrade this winter, but it's not going to happen. But there's still so much quality, and you look at so many of the problems that teams around us are having, and so much of the inconsistency within the league, and you're thinking, are we really that much worse than anything around us? Are we really that much worse than someone like Villa? You look at Villa's attacking options. You look at their defensive options. They're playing Victor Lindelof at the back a lot of the games. Like, what's to say that we can't, if we start playing with more, we start making more logical, rational decisions on the pitch. We start making more logical, rational decisions with substitutions. Why can't we go on a bit of a run?
Yeah, I think that's all fair. I mean, actually, I think the squad's pretty good. It's the 4th best paid squad in the league. Actually, that was last season, according to the Deloitte Money League. There's been a lot of change since then. Obviously, we let some players go, high earners, brought some in, but there's no Champions League uplift, blah, blah, blah. We might actually be the 5th best. But certainly after this summer, there's going to be some significant change as well. Anyway, that's just to say that might set expectations for where we should be. Obviously, last season was pretty disastrous in terms of where they actually performed. But you look at the resources we've got, and it looks like we've got a lot of good players, some good young players whose form is in and out, and some players trying to find their feet at the club. In Benjamin Sesko, we've got a striker whose form and injury has caused a fairly disruptive first half of the season, I think. Mm-hmm. So I'm hoping for more from him. And it's really only central midfield where the resources are thin, because Casemiro is brilliant against City, but you don't expect him to be able to really do the full 90. He was out on his feet, wasn't he, after about 70 minutes against City. Ugate's had a disastrous season. It's great that Mainu's come back in, because it adds more quality there, and Amorim, that was his first start of the season. A league start. He started against Grimsby, but it's just unbelievable. You've got a player of that quality and you just won't use him.
Covered the most ground on the pitch as well, by the way.
Bruno at 10, who does the defensive bit from there pretty well, and best creator in Europe, basically. Yeah. In that role. And you think, yeah, okay, this team should be able to get a lot of points. Then again, we've had of the few highs we've had this season. We go into games going, well, we should beat this team.
Yeah.
And you look at Everton, Bournemouth, Wolves, Chelsea game when they were down to 10, West Ham. There's so many games where we dropped points and just deeply frustrating because they haven't been able to find any consistency. And you're like, is this going to come or not? Now, under Carrick, as I said, he's going to have to find some solutions to some of the problems, but he's platforming players immediately in the right way, right? Horses for courses. I mean, perhaps only Dorgu was out of a position you'd call his natural one, although he's played there for Lecce. He's
for Lecce,
pretty much bloody everywhere. And he seems to be finding, I mean, it was probably his best performance in the United States.
Oh, he was outstanding, yeah.
Yeah. And, maybe we owe Patrick Dorgu a few apologies because it always felt like he was a brilliant athlete, great attitude, fantastic work rate, and then the quality wasn't there. Well, made the run across the defender and finished brilliantly. Maybe the quality's there, and he's put in a couple of good crosses in recent weeks as well. So,
yeah, he played that awesome ball. I think it was De Bruyne. Was it on that one where he played that real long diagonal against City as well?
Oh, yeah, the diagonal. Yeah, where did that come from? Yeah.
He suits... It's such a smart decision as well because Dorgu was doing so much work defensively to minimise Casemiro's isolation in midfield. Especially, I mean, Carragher pointed it out on MNF, but it was just very obvious when you were watching it in the moment that Mainu was doing that pressing, and Dorgu and Bruno at times and Ahmad were getting back so narrow to just clog that middle of midfield, and that's what you're going to get from Dorgu. I guess, like you say, we've seen definite technical limitations, but in a game like this, it's just a perfect decision from Carrick to think, hey, why don't we use this guy's work rate? Why don't we use his physicality? Why don't we use his speed on the break to therefore work in a left side of a 4-2-3-1 rather than having to, because the wingbacks, I think I've played wingback and it's the hardest position I've ever playing football. And I think it's the hardest position that you can find anyone to play football. You've got to do so much work. You've got to do, obviously, all that running, and there's a lot of sprinting involved in that running. You've got to do all the physicality of the defending and all the attacking from that wing because no one else is helping you out on that side. As just from a mental perspective, there's so much work to do there. And what you're doing by playing 4-2-3-1 is just meaning that he's got less to think about. Like, yes, he's got to come back and do that defensive work, but he doesn't have to. He's not being the person who you're relying on that wing. Because if you make a mistake at left wing back, they're completely in. There's so much pressure to put on a player. And what we did under Amorim, like obviously every single game, is you have those two really sophisticated, really difficult, really those positions also our players hadn't practiced that much. Like if you grew up through the youth system and if you grew up in any 4 at the back, you wouldn't have played it that much. You potentially wouldn't have played it that, like Dalot barely ever played it at United before. So you're asking, in a lot of respects, our 2 weakest players to be playing those positions. It's just, and therefore you give Dorgu a little bit less responsibility and he gets better as a footballer. It's kind of rational.
Yeah, no, exactly. And that's the whole point about platforming players correctly. You're likely to get better performances out of them. I mean, who knows where Dorgu goes in his career at United after this. You wouldn't expect him to be first choice in too many games in a front three. It worked for a team that was built to play quickly on the transition. We'll get to the Arsenal game in a bit. That's not going to work. They are set up to block transitions very, very well. You can get at them. Inter did in midweek. They'll have to come up with a different tactical system. So The Athletic reported that Holland has been working on a lot of this tactical stuff. Obviously did that role for Gareth Southgate in England. They were very good defensively, I'd say. So maybe that will help. I mean, it's what's killed United this season, hasn't it? I mean, the amount of goals we're conceding, not just on transitions, just generally cheap goals, whether it's goalkeeping errors or defensive errors where players have wandered out of position, where they've countered through, got behind our midfield, as Alex Iwobi put it, all the way back in August. They've scored 11 more goals than at the same stage this season, and we've got more points, but it should be better, and it's because of all those cheap goals. So if they can sort that out, you expect United to pick up quite a lot of points because there's just enough quality up front to get the goals and score against most teams. Yeah. So anyway, the mood's good. I don't know how that will translate into playing probably the best team in Europe at the moment against Arsenal, but for the moment, we needed that as a club. I'm sure the players needed it. Fans definitely needed it.
Does it ever feel like you're a marketing professional just speaking into the void? But with LinkedIn ads, you can know you're reaching the right decision makers, a network of 130 million of them, in fact. You can even target buyers by job title, industry, company, seniority, skills, and did I say job title? See how you can avoid the void and reach the right buyers with LinkedIn ads. Spend $250 on your first campaign and get a free $250 credit for the next one. Get started at linkedin.com/campaign. Terms and conditions apply.
We interrupt this program to bring you an important Wayfair message. Wayfair's got style tips for every home. This is Styles McKenzie helping you make those rooms sing. Today's style tip. When it comes to making a statement, treat bold patterns like neutrals. Go wild, like an untamed animal print area rug under a rustic farmhouse table from Wayfair.com. Fierce. This has been your Wayfair style tip to keep those interiors superior.
Wayfair, every style, every home.
I think also Carrick needed it because of the stick that he was getting from the lads on Stick to Football and the Nicky Butts and Paul Scholes of the world. Even if they're not like overt, Carrick shouldn't be in the job. But it's just there was so much kind of picking. There's so much kind of nagging. There was not that universal backing of this is a United legend who won. It was a key part of one of the best sides that have ever played for United in its history, and also the brains of the system behind the player who probably on that pitch who had the most intelligence, bar Paul Scholes potentially, and the amount of stick that he got, it just leaves such a bad taste in my mouth. And then because if he was one of the lads, if he was a lad who was on Stick to Football, do you think they would be talking about him in the same way? Obviously not. And I think Carrick, throughout his whole United time, on the pitch used to get completely uncalled for stick. He was at a lot of games. I remember because that was the time I used to go a lot, like pretty much every week, and it would be all like you'd get a certain part of that fan base who wouldn't rate Carrick, never really liked him, with a frustrated way going passing the ball backwards and sideways. And he was it felt like to me he was always just very much underrated but unacknowledged, like not really understood as a player. And I feel like it was just lovely for him to get that moment as well. I think there should be a lot more respect for him and his coaching team. I saw a lot of criticism of Steve Holland as well, who's got a very long history and well respected in the game. There are some people that snipe about him, I think, because he focuses a lot on structure and defence, but bloody hell, United needed to improve their rest defence, and if he can do that, we will ship far fewer goals. Johnny Evans, he's not got a lot of history of coaching. I mean, I don't know why Roy Keane has any position. I mean, I guess we criticise managers, but we're fans, right? I don't know what Roy Keane is anymore, other than just sniping from the sidelines. And I thought the conversation between Butt and Scholes about Lisandro Martinez was just totally out of order. They need to pick a lane. Are they fans of this club, in the club, or are they outside of the club sniping? And they appear to have picked the latter, right? And I don't understand what the point. Like, are they going to choose, like, all legends of the club, fantastic players, even Nicky Butt, who left to play more football, part of one of the greatest sides United's ever built, and a really key player. He played, I can't remember, 300 games for the club, something like that. Like, what are they now? Are they part of this family or not? Because it seems like every week, and it's personal as well. It's not analysis. Yeah, it's all personal. And the stuff about Lisandro Martinez was just fucking out of order. And what did it contribute to the success of this club? Like, just nothing at all. And it's just really, really sad that they've chosen to do this to be relevant in some fashion. Like, why? Do they need the money? Like, it can't be that. And I mean, I'm sure it's doing decent numbers and stuff because of the platform they've got. But like, really? And they're not coaching anymore. They're not. I don't know. Does Scholes do any actual punditry anymore? I can't remember. Now Keane certainly does. Every other time on TNT. Yeah.
I don't know. I don't like it. It leaves a bad taste in the mouth. I don't know what they're contributing to anything at all, really.
I know, because at this point, it comes over just really bitter. And the fact that, like, Butt doubled down on his comments as well. Like, it wasn't just that he did it before. It was like Lisandro Martinez called him out, and then he's still, like, going on. It comes across so bitter. It also comes across, like, almost like the ex-players version of Goldbridge, really. Like, obviously we have a go at Goldbridge, and obviously fair enough for that, but, like, this is actually worse. This is much worse. Like, from it coming from former players, former legends of the club, and obviously this podcast with Scholes and Butt is, like, quite new. It's in the last 6 months or so, I think, that it's actually been started. Like, how long is this going to go on for? Are they just going to continue to be like this? I just can't understand why anyone would watch that stuff. It just would make me so angry and so annoyed. It's just, yeah.
Well, that's it. You fit into the algorithms, right? So
when Liverpool used to be terrible, like early 2000s, you get loads of ex-Liverpool pundits on TV, but they'd all be like Lawrence and Hansen. They'd all be still massively pro-Liverpool to a point of absolute ridiculousness. All of our pundits are just dicks, and they are a huge reason, I think. Not the reason, but they are a big reason for the club being the way it is, I think. I think you've got to obviously look at a lot of the inside stuff, but you have to acknowledge the outside noise in the same way as Real Madrid. You can't divorce the inside and the outside of Real Madrid. You can't divorce the inside and the outside of United. And this punditry class is just awful. Yeah,
it doesn't feel good. All right, I tell you what was good. United women have made the League Cup final, beat Arsenal 1-0 at, what's it called? It's called Meadowbank or something like that. It's Boreham Wood's ground, just in the north of London. Funny, I've been there.
Oh, it's quite a small ground, isn't it? Because they're top of the National League at the moment, I think.
Yeah, long story. I took one of my sons on non-league day a few years back to go to that ground. It's a trek in the middle of nowhere as well. I don't know why. We picked one to go to, and it was like 20 quid to take a kid to National League. Yeah. It's a long story. Boreham Wood, known for that. Get hardly anyone there. Anyway, pretty full ground for Arsenal women. They do get good crowds, and there's another excellent defensive display by United women, who are totally obdurate, I would say, defensively. They are not like the men's team at all. They are set up well, don't concede a lot of goals, have struggled to score as many perhaps as they should. There's, it's a four-way race at the top of the WSL, sort of as usual, although City look like they will be favourites to win it this year. United still in the European competitions, and this will be a first League Cup final for the club. Massive result.
Yeah, the quadruple's still on. Yeah, just about. But yeah, it's really funny, isn't it? Just because, like, I feel like Skinner gets some criticism, and quite right criticism at times, but he just keeps plodding away with this team. Like, we still, like, compared to Arsenal, there's still the quality level is just nowhere near the same. But as a team, he's just got them ticking, like you say, excellently defensively, but then especially in a counter-attack and with pace on the break, we are so good. Like, we don't have that, like, class. We don't have that, like, expert quality, but they just work really, really well, I think. Like, you have Turland, you have Tooney, you have Park, you have that so many players have that ability to just beat a man, beat a woman, which I think especially when you set up and obviously, we didn't have that many chances against Arsenal last night, and we kind of won it backs against the wall kind of vibe. But when you set up your team in that way, having those types of players in transition, it just works so well. That those players that can beat players and just, even if you're lacking that quality, having those players who can take the game away from you, take you up the pitch is just. And they're also just beautiful to watch, even if potentially that last kick and last action isn't always perfect. And that has been our downfall, I think, this season. You've seen the games against City, the game against Villa, silly games that we've lost this season, which have hampered us and held us back. It's that last bit of quality where in games where we dominate, we just haven't quite got that goal score, haven't got quite like that Bunny Shaw or that last bit of quality in the final third, which holds us back. But as a team, you can't really diss the job that Skinner's doing, to be honest.
No, I think that's right. I think we have to give him more credit than perhaps he's given online. There's a fairly vocal group of United women fans online who are quite critical of him, but his performances, given the resources he's got, are not as strong as Chelsea and Arsenal, probably even City, honestly, and definitely don't have a goal scorer of the quality of Bunny Shaw. I think he's done pretty well. They've won some trophies. They qualified for Europe. They did come up. I mean, in the winter, in those last three games in the qualification in the Champions League, they came up against some good sides and lost a few games. Very big win at Juventus to make sure they went through. It was a challenging. It kind of showed the quality gap. They have filled some of the gaps in the squad. I mean, it just felt like a very thin squad. They filled some of the gaps in the squad this winter. They brought in, I think it's 3 players now, haven't they? Including Scholes, who is a very high quality player with a brilliant record, who didn't actually feature last night, who probably will, I think. And especially up front, they were lacking in depth. And Gazer's left for the NWSL again. And so they needed to bring players in. They have done. It puts them in a pretty good position, I think, to challenge. Obviously got this League Cup final. They want to get into the top 3 to qualify for Europe again next season. It is tough because it's always a 4-way race in the WSL, basically. Now, I've said before on this, they are basically profitable, basically. I mean, if you count their share of sponsorship, there's a bit of cross-pollination financially from the big club, the parent club, because some of the sponsorships are counted. They wear the same front of shirt sponsor and all of that, so that's only fair. There's room for investment. The club have decided to be quite parsimonious there. The argument from the club is that it's the men's team that will drive revenue. Well, the women's game is growing, and I know I'm sounding like a broken record here, but there's a big opportunity. And the more performances we get like this and the more trophies, the more it kind of says, hey, this market is growing. There's an opportunity to gain more fans. They've got a good team. Can we progress, right? Or is United Women always destined under this ownership to be the 4th biggest club in England?
And you look at the way that Arsenal have done it as well. Like Arsenal's attendances pretty much every weekend are almost more than what's the rest of the table put together, I think. And I think that just obviously London is a bigger city, but it still just shows the appetite is there if you build something which is both successful and something that people just want to buy into. And the fact that the girls are still stuck it out in Lee, which is miles away, and the public transport is terrible to get to. Like you say, it shows the priorities. They've told us the priorities anyway, but it doesn't, like you say, it's not going to take that much of just a little bit of innovation. It's even not even innovation, just a little bit of logical, rational thinking, a little bit of money. Hopefully, obviously, they kind of say with the new stadium that there's going to be a space for the women's team on site somewhere, potentially. How that'll help, I'm sure that'll be massive, but it feels like it'll be the last priority, even if they're thinking, oh yeah, well, are we going to do this or not? Then it's going to be a no.
Yeah, we'll see with that one, because the commercial imperatives will take over on the new stadium. So it depends on whether they can strike a deal for that land that they want, and then what they want to do with the rest of the land and the development. Is it going to be housing, other commercial property? Is there going to be space for a training ground, a campus with a stadium for the women's and youth teams? It's not obvious from the plans that is going to happen at all. I think they've discounted downsizing Old Trafford. That land has some value in it, and given United's finances and the fact that the refinance on our senior notes, the bonds, is coming up at about the same time that they're going to be looking for investment on the stadium. or loans or whatever. It's going to be some kind of mix of private equity, maybe state-backed equity, which is going to be an interesting debate, and loans and stuff like that. So I don't know that they'll do it. I'm not very confident. I think the long-term future for United Women may well be out at Lee, which is, you say, is a pain for everybody. Then again, you know, I've spoken to United Women fans who go every week, and there's not necessarily the appetite to play more games at Old Trafford. Like, it's right-sized Lee is for the supporter base right now. And you've seen when they've played more games at Old Trafford that they haven't got fantastic crowds. It's not like Arsenal where they're filling the Emirates, or Barcelona where they're before the redevelopment filled Camp Nou, 100,000 people there to support Barcelona Feminine. So there's some development to do. And of course, they just didn't have the Glazers' first act they did was to axe the women's team, basically. And so United are 20 years behind in terms of the development.
Yeah, and it's the reason why, especially Arsenal, but even City have got so many fans, is because they were the best two teams, and obviously Chelsea, but like the best teams in the country when United didn't have fans. And say you were a women's football fan and you supported United, or your family supported United, you're going to have to go and find another club. And therefore, obviously, we've still got a huge fan base for the women's team. But like you say, we are 20 years behind, and we are, when women's football was really coming back into the fore, people didn't have teams to support, so they had to go and find someone. So we were always going to be behind. And even now we've caught up, he's still, like you say, he's still just catching up. Yeah.
There are weird cases of people supporting United men and City women because of Yeah.
I don't, and that's difficult as well. You can, in a weird way, you can understand it, because you're like, well, they didn't have a team to support, so what are you going to do? Maybe not support City, but
no, come on. There's many options, including alcoholism or something like that. Anything to solve the problems. All right, don't do that, people. Very, very bad outcomes. All right, transfer market. There's just over a week to go in the transfer market. Doesn't look like anything's going to happen on incomings or outgoings. I mean, maybe they'll surprise us with a loan or something like that. I mean, I guess there's been more noise. There was a lot of noise, obviously, about Kobbie Mainoo. They're not going to let him go for sure. He's going to play a lot of games under Michael Carrick. Good for him, good for the club, I would say. And I guess the two more obvious ones beyond Mainoo for departures would be Josh Zirkzee, who Roma really wanted, and Manuel Ugarte. There was some kind of rumour about Ajax this week that I saw might be his level, to be fair to him, although Ajax are not flush with money. I think I'm right in saying Jordi Cruyff's going to be the sports director there soon. I think I saw that. Yeah, I could be talking out my ass, but I think so. Anyway, I'd be surprised if they let anyone go, honestly. I'd imagine Michael Carrick wants to keep all his resources, and they're certainly not going to let a midfielder go unless they've got someone coming in. So I mean, if I was betting, I'd say no deals, but I don't have the inside info, and maybe they're keeping it really quiet.
Yeah, we've seen obviously a few loans, haven't we? So Collier's going to Holland, Amas is going to Norwich.
I guess for Amas, it's an interesting one, the Amas one, because he's had such a good first half of the season. Obviously, that was a big risk because of the chaos at Sheffield Wednesday with the ownership. They're getting a new owner there, coming out of administration, but they are struggling as a team because they've got no players. Norwich doing much better. So I guess it's an upgrade for him, but he's then got to settle into a new club and be part of the team. And so there's a risk there when he was playing every week.
Yeah, it can definitely work both ways. You can see pros and cons on both sides, because you're thinking it's probably not ideal that you're just playing for a team that have been relegated a long time ago. Obviously, that builds resilience. It's great to see you're in a team every week, and therefore you can perform in a bad team. But also, yeah, you can see the upside of potentially going to Norwich, where there's more competition. There's more at stake every week. You're not going to be going through the motions as much as you are potentially at Sheffield Wednesday, where, like I say, you are gone, you are relegated. So, yeah, pros and cons on both sides. I just hope he gets playing time in the same way as obviously Collier does get playing time as well, because obviously at West Brom he was behind, I think, Styles and Malumbi, and just didn't play at all, really.
And he was injured a couple of times as well, yeah. I was just looking at the Championship table. I thought Norwich were a bit further up the table, but they are in a relegation battle. I mean, I guess there's going to be high stakes.
And it beat someone 6-0, did they?
On 30 points, 20th in the table.
Okay, so there's a big fight to have on.
But it is really tight. It is really tight. A couple of victories could take them up to mid-table. So.
And Hull are nearly in the playoffs, right?
Yeah, Hull are doing better.
That's an interesting...
Hull are fourth, yeah. So they're in the playoff positions at the moment, yeah.
That's interesting then that Collier is going to go there, because you can't imagine, or it doesn't feel like there's a massive need for a new centre midfielder. Maybe that's depth for them, or maybe they've had someone injured or something. It'd be interesting to see how much game time he gets there.
Yeah, my knowledge of Hull is limited, so I'm not going to pretend I have watched them at all this season. But good luck to him anyway. I mean, he's a good player, Collier, and I think top end of the Championship, he should shine there if he can stay fit.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, he should. I mean, he should look at other United players that have left in recent memory. You think of James Garner and stuff like that, who've done really well. He could forge himself a Premier League career. He's just obviously got to stay fit enough to develop. I think I don't expect his long-term future to be at United, though.
He also hasn't got a manager slagging him off every week now, so...
Yeah, for absolutely no reason, yeah.
Yeah. I think that Sekou Kone's rumoured to be leaving out on loan as well, which I think would be good, because I really like every time I see Sekou Kone. Yeah,
do we know his destination? Because there was some talk about him going to Lausanne, who's obviously another Ineos group.
Yeah, wasn't he supposed to be training with them, I think?
Much.
Yeah, supposed to be training with them, I think.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, it'd be good for him to get a lot of first-team football. I do like what I see of him. Obviously, a bit raw, but I think his performance... And he had that face injury, which he missed quite a lot of games, but I feel like he's been getting better every time I've seen him.
Yeah.
More rounded player, so yeah. Good luck to him. On incomings, I mean, now we've switched formation, there's less desperate need, I'd say, for fullbacks, at least right now. There's a question in the summer, because I think it is fair to say Luke Shaw probably can't get up and down in the same way he once did without his body breaking. I hope we're going to play Mazraoui more often than Dalot.
Oh, surely has to be. Well, he's better than everything.
The way that Carrick likes to set up his fullback sort of asymmetrically, where one goes forward and the other tucks into midfield, that would suit Mazraoui really well to tuck in and Luke Shaw bomb forward if he can do it. Yeah,
I said Mazraoui is an upgrade on Dalot and everything. To be fair, Dalot has a bigger engine. He gets up the pitch a lot more, and Mazraoui hasn't got quite that burst of energy and speed that Dalot does have. But just on the ball, like technically wise, like Mazraoui's got so much more to himself, and also defensively he's great as well. It's just you kind of intimate, if we've got Mazraoui and Shaw both at fullback, potentially that does limit us in terms of players bombing on, because you see even against City, Shaw he's getting forward and he's nice and technical when he's in that final third. It's just he's not got that burst of energy to go past the final defender, and especially against teams with low blocks, being able to get in behind us that burst. Having those two fullbacks might be a bit limiting in that respect.
Yeah, I mean, definitely suited better to this system than forcing those players into wing-backs.
Well, that's true, yeah.
I'm sure that Shaw will be trusted to play that left-back. If he gets injured, it'll be a question of Mark who plays there. I mean, do they move Dalot across or Dorgu plays left-back? Because I don't think we've seen him play left-back for United, have we? Like proper left-back in a 4.
No, that's true.
Yeah, which obviously he did for Lecce. If you look at the data, he played there most of any position, but still, we haven't seen him at this level doing that.
I think he'll be all right there, to be fair, especially against if you think about the weaker teams where we hopefully have more possession of the ball and stuff as well. I feel like he'd be a real good option in that position.
Yeah,
he's just got so much energy. He's so quick. He's got such a burst of energy.
And defensively, he's done all right. I mean, he was in a challenging position to defend from a wing-back position where you're having to attack and defend at the same time. But now he's got two. As we saw against City, where two players dropped into those wide areas to make sure there wasn't a 2v1 and overloading those defensive areas. So, yeah, I mean, obviously United need an extra midfielder. Just, Ugarte has such a disastrous season. And so if Casemiro to get injured or suspended or may need to get injured because, you know, he's got a history of like minor injuries, we would be just desperately short again, like just desperately short. The problem is like buying a permanent player. I think they've signaled they're just not going to do that unless they're on their transfer list already. That of the quality we want of the Whartons and Anderson type quality of Blabers, that is going to be dependent on European football. It is a kind of, you can see it's a bit of a conundrum. I think if they could land a player that was on their list, they can bring forward summer budget. There's loads of headroom in squad cost ratio rules. Like, that's just not a problem. Cash is a problem. You know, we are, I think I mentioned at the top of the show, now the 8th most revenue generating club in European football. For many years it was the top, so slipping back and back and back. Thank you, Glazer family and Ed Woodward. You've done a fine job there, lads. Yeah. And so, you know, money overall, and obviously the debt's still there and is not going away for the foreseeable future until there's a ownership change or restructuring. And so they have to be careful. They can't let players go on loan without a fee, basically, and they can't waste money on players who might just be squad players unless they really think they just need squad players. But it seems like they're aiming for top quality, as they should be. And so, like, who do you bring in the winter? It's a challenging one.
Yeah, it feels like they've been spooked a little bit by loan signings as well, because the loan signings just haven't worked at all. And you're thinking that would be a nice option if just to get someone who is potentially a little bit out of favour, who can just fill a gap in that midfield, because it almost is at that point right now that anyone is an upgrade on Ugarte because of how bad he's been. And like you say, if Mainu gets injured, I guess you could put Bruno back and play in midfield, but you don't want that because then you lose out on such high quality in that 10 position. Casemiro gets injured. I think that's huge. If Casemiro gets injured, that means Ugarte is going to have to play the rest of the season. And I just don't see us finishing almost in the top 5 if that happens. It's that bad.
No, it'd be a total disaster. I mean, Casemiro's, fortunately, his body he doesn't seem to get injured that often.
No.
He doesn't have the legs to compete physically for more than 60, 70 minutes. That's a problem because you've got to find a solution for the last 20 minutes of a game. But yeah, it's just not enough resources there.
Yeah, you kind of think, though, how many times, I don't know this, but how many times are we actually going to play twice in a week? Is there going to be like once or twice, or is it literally nothing?
Yeah, it's hardly any.
So you think, hopefully, with that in mind, that the squad is going to be able to just tick on and be fine. Because you look at it, if everyone stays fit, and like the squad that we had last week, almost everyone apart from Mazraoui and De Ligt, I think, were back. You think that squad, there's such quality on the bench to come off and change a game. We've got such a variety of players as well. When we had like Mount and Cunha and Sesko, just from like an attacking position, you get 3 completely different things from all 3 of those, and depending on what you want to bring into the game. I think that is our asset right now. It's just keeping everyone fit, and the only thing you're really looking at is, like you say, wing back, full back, and midfield, because midfield, one injury fucks us. Yeah.
Well, we'll see. Just over a week to go. We'll see if United do any business. Seems unlikely. All right, let's get on to Arsenal. How are we going to beat Arsenal, Tom? At the Emirates, where we haven't won, so the internet tells me, since 2017.
Yeah, we kind of won last season.
Well, we won in the FA Cup, yeah.
Well, we won on penalties.
We've had a couple of cup victories over them, but not in the league for years and years and years.
Yeah, I mean, I'm a lot more optimistic now than I would have been like this time last week, for example.
For sure.
And I think we've got the quality to beat them. I really do believe that. I like I said, I think Mbeumo, if United do somehow actually get better in the next couple of years, which I say somehow because it works all the time. But I think Mbeumo could be the best player in the league. I genuinely believe he's that good. And I think when you have players like Mbeumo, players like Cunha, players like Bruno, players like Šeško even off the bench, Ahmad, I don't see how you can rule us out from winning this game. And like I say, when the coach is making rational, logical decisions, not just playing a team which is very easy to play against. Despite having said that, we did play well at the Emirates last season. We did play well in these big games under Amorim. We've got the spirit, we've got the attitude, we've got the tenacity for these games. We've also got the quality to win these games. And I don't think Arsenal are also all that. They've been in Milan in midweek. They've had a few games. They only just beat Wolves when they played at home. Not that long ago, 2 goals, and I think they had 1 shot on target.
And we're frustrated by Forest last weekend. Yeah.
I don't think they're actually that good of a team. They have a lot of assets. They have a lot of weapons in different areas of the pitch. They're obviously really good at controlling the game. They're good defensively. They're good in transition, really good on set pieces. And therefore, you can never say we're definitely going to beat them because 1 or 2 set pieces go right for them and then they win the game, right? But I genuinely almost think it's like a coin toss. I would say that they're definitely favourites, like 60-40. But I just think in transition we still are good enough. And the football, obviously, City set up perfectly for us last week, but still the football that we played was immense. And I don't think many teams in the league could actually deal with us when we're playing that well. Like I say, Ahmad, Mbeumo, Bruno, that triumvirate is class. I think if you look at those 3 players, who trying to find a right winger, a 10, and a Mbeumo playing as a striker in that game, I don't think there's a better 3 in the league.
Wow, confidence has got you, Tom. We're the best in the world. There's been a lot of chat this week about who was, I guess, because Carrick was part of the 2008 team, a combined team of Arsenal 2026 versus United 2008, and who would be in the team and stuff like that. So, I don't know. I always find that kind of stuff kind of pointless, but obviously it'd be 11 United players. This Arsenal team, they are brilliant at some things. Obviously, set pieces, they've been really innovative. The dark arts, they do a lot of tactical fouling, including for the goal they scored at Old Trafford, where Onana flapped a lot of fouling in that. And they are very good, what you'd call the rest defence, the shape off the ball, or when they have the ball, ready to shut out the transitions. And obviously they're 2 central defenders, physical and technically brilliant, 2 best central defenders in the league, I guess, or as a pair. So they've got a lot of assets. They are quite prosaic going forward, though. If you look at the data, Saka's getting about half the number of touches in the box that he used to get.
Yeah.
They've leaned into making sure the shape is right. And it kind of shows. They've only conceded 5 at home all year. Inter did get at them, though. I know they lost the game sort of comfortably in the end, but they had quite a lot of moments, Inter. And I do wonder what it'll look like, because I don't see United profiting from the kind of direct transitional football that we beat City with. I just Arsenal eat that up. Then again, you can't just pump it at Šeško and expect him to win a lot of physical battles, because you've got 2 guys who are happy to fight it out all day long. We had quite a lot of success with some more direct, longer balls, second balls at Old Trafford. Against City as well, although we played fewer of them. Definitely against Liverpool at Anfield, it worked pretty well. I wonder whether they might do a bit of that, and not necessarily Šeško fighting with the centre-backs, but actually dropping deeper for a player to run on, whether it's Bruno or Cunha or Ahmad or whoever, right? And whether that might be quite profitable as a tactic. I just don't... The temptation will be to go, okay, we're going to play the same team we played against City, but it's just not going to work, that style of football. Arsenal don't concede goals on the transition like that, really. So, yeah, I can't exactly call it. And then defensively, you just have to not concede the first goal because then they'll control the game, and not concede something stupid from set pieces. And Harry Maguire being back, and maybe Sesko in the team for his aerial stuff, and Casemiro is a big plus, I think, on that.
Yeah, if you bring Šeško in, who you drop in? Dorgu,
yeah. I know Ahmad doesn't really like playing off the left like that necessarily, but I would be tempted, and not so you can pump it up to Sesko to win aerials like that, but he's quite useful coming deeper. I mean, you can use Mbeumo in a false nine again, I guess, but it's not going to be successful playing quick transitions in behind. Although, having said that, they do like to push their fullbacks forward. There will be space in those areas. They can press the game really well, Arsenal. So they do play a very high line. Not suicidally high, not Big Ange high. But and a lot of that is, I guess, if you look into the data, a lot of that's because they just have a lot of the ball, right? So their first contact tends to be quite high. They do a lot of fouls, but maybe there's room in behind the fullbacks there. Maybe I don't know. I'm trying to find weaknesses because defensively they're just very, very strong.
They are. I just think that we do have that individual talent, and yeah, a lot of our goals did come from just like quite obvious transitions last week and having a lot of space to run into. I just think that we do. I would play. I don't think I would play Šeško. I think I'd play Cunha instead of Dorgu. And it's harsh to drop Dorgu. It doesn't feel like a dropping either. It's just a tactical switch because Dorgu was really, really, really good. I just think Cunha in this game, especially when you're going to have a little bit less space on the ball, his ability in close quarters is just so good. That ability with his strength, because he's so strong, his close control is just amazing, and therefore being able to just link up play, keep the ball a little bit, and therefore potentially having Mbeumo as a false nine to do a little bit of that as well, working together in close quarters with that four. It just means that I guess we can keep hold of the ball when we need to. And I think that when we saw Liverpool play there a couple of weeks ago, just before Bradley hit the bar, Liverpool get the ball for about 3 or 4 minutes at the Emirates, and the crowd kind of like didn't know what to do because it was like, what? Yeah. Like, this doesn't happen usually.
Atmosphere at Old Trafford last weekend was fantastic. You don't get that at the Emirates. There'll be like 1 minute of like that shite song that they like to play, fucking awful cringe nonsense, and that's it.
I think that Arsenal are so used to dominating the ball that they don't really know what to do that much when they don't dominate the ball. And I think if we have a lot of players, especially if we have that front six, really, Casemiro's underrated with the ball, especially with his passing. Mainu's obviously great. You think we could actually just have a few moments of this game where we just take the sting out of it a little bit, just play with the ball for a little bit, just give ourselves something to think about with our possession. And I think when Liverpool did that, Arsenal kind of lost themselves a little bit in that game. And I think, Arsenal did having a lot of possession of the ball, but it was, like you say, very prosaic. They weren't actually creating that many chances. And Liverpool in that game, Liverpool coming off the back of pretty bad form, Liverpool had the better chances in that game and really could have easily won it. And that also was at the Emirates. Obviously, it was 0-0, but you think I'd take that. I'd take that, having some moments in the game, some big chances, and not having that many chances conceded at the end. I think I'd be absolutely fine with that.
All right, we'll see. I think it's a good shout on Cunha. Yeah, but that's it. Options.
Yeah, Mount as well, obviously.
Yeah, and as Carrick said last week, everyone wants to start, but finishing the game's as important as starting it. Very true when you can have 5 subs. I guess we'll leave it there. It's been a good week. And long may it continue. I don't know whether it will or not. More confident, of course, but we are facing the likely title winners. Yeah. Arsenal fans are fucking awful as well. There's something like, and they're so online, and you can't escape them. This noisy. God, I'd rather they win. Let's be fair, than City, another sports washing victory, or Liverpool, God forbid.
Are we in the title race if we win this?
Let's check the table. Are we in the title race? Well, we're 15 points behind Arsenal, so one would think not.
12 points.
Yeah. I mean, what do we make up against Newcastle that year when, we'd just love it if we beat them? I think it's 12, wasn't it?
12, I think. Yeah, there we go. 12 by this time. Yeah, by this time next week.
Yeah. Well, so Sunday night could be 12-point gap. I mean, like more realistically, of course, we're chasing 4th or 5th for a Champions League spot. It almost certainly, given the performances of English teams, City are letting the side down there, aren't they?
I might sound like an absolute idiot by this time after we've lost 3 or 4-0 to Arsenal, but I genuinely think there's an outside chance for 3rd. Maybe not 2nd, but I just think that Villa are not that good. They'd obviously lost at home to Everton last week, and they have been overperforming their XG for ages. They were pretty poor against us and kind of were let off by 2 pretty poor Euro situations. I think I wouldn't be surprised if they drop. They dropped last season exactly the same way. They've got European football. All of the teams around us have got European football.
Yeah, it's a big bonus for United, that is. Yeah.
Yeah, that's why we went out of the cup competitions early as well.
That's it. It was planned. It was strategic.
Yeah,
we were like, we need more rest so we can make a late run for the title or place, whatever. Yeah. All right, we'll leave it there. Patreon.com/NQATpod for our extra show. I'll find someone who's willing to talk about something this week, and NQATpod.substack.com for some written stuff. Tom is on Blue Sky.
I'm a Blue Sky man.
It's a good job for you, Tom, because it's an absolute cesspit of scumbags.
Yeah, I sometimes fall on there and then look at the comments and regret my life decisions.
Just the worst of humanity all around, yeah.
I don't even know if it's humanity, though, to be honest, a lot of the time. Is it just AI?
It's a lot of AI stuff, yeah. A whole thing with making naked women. How that is legal to do that is unbelievably disgusting.
It's crazy, yeah.
Thank you very much, everyone. We will leave it there and catch you after United's famous victory at the Emirates on Sunday. Come on, you Reds.
Yes.
Carvana's so easy, just a click, and we've got ourselves a car. See?
So many cars. That's a click-tastic inventory.
And check out the financing options. Payments to fit our budget. I mean, that's...
Clickonomics 101.
Delivery to our door?
Just a hop, skip, and a click away.
And bought.
No better feeling than when everything just... clicks. Buy your car today on...
Carvana.
Delivery fees may apply.